even though we have all this technology, we can have our phone in our face. That interaction, that face to face, is it's not there as much as it was. So I think being a part of the village in helping your neighbor, helping your children, and that could mean, even if you don't have children of your own, what can you do to support the local school in your area? What can you do to volunteer for different organizations within your area? If children is in it, then maybe you can help at the food bank. What can you do as a person to be a part of the village?
Hey, y'all, and welcome to Let's Talk Sis. I'm Shekinah, your host, and as we spend time together, I can promise you three things. I'll be honest, I'll make you laugh, and I won't hold back. Let's Talk Sis is your essential girl talk destination where you'll hear about life from the perspective of a Black woman in America, as our stories often go untold. I can assure you, while honest, we are a community for growth and love. Remember to like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Now sit back, relax, and let's talk, sis. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back, y'all, for another week of the best podcast in the world. And I am saying that biasly because it's mine. That would be the Let's Talk Sis podcast. Every week we are dedicated, by we, I mean me and the people in my head, are dedicated to bringing you awesome content that is relevant, fun, relatable, but ultimately content that creates a safe space for Black women to show up authentically and unapologetically. I have been trying this year to incorporate just more conversations with Black women who I have come across, who I value, who I've learned from, who I know can bring some value to the table. And this week is no exception. This week I have with me Miss Kimberly Young. Hey, Kim, how you doing?
Hi. Hello. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I'm so excited. Kim and I have been working together. How we originally met was just happenstance, coincidentally, together over the past couple weeks we've been working. We met in a public speaking class that we both decided to start taking, and just over time realized that there were some ways that our worlds could collide with what we both do professionally. And so I've had the privilege of getting inside of her world and helping her to unpack certain projects and ideas that she's working on as her brand bestie. And in turn, I've gotten an insight into, some of the school systems, some things that I need to be aware of in due time when I have kids, and definitely will be calling Kim on the line. So I just wanted to put that context out there for how we met and how we got together. Mm-hmm. But before we get into it, I also just want to let y'all know a little bit more about who we have with us. So it's time for my favorite segment, and that is Go Off, Sis. This is where I get to brag on my guests, tell y'all all their accolades, read you their bio, just so you can know the caliber of women that we have with us. And Kimberly T. Young is no exception. With a rich experience as an educator spanning nearly 25 years, Kimberly Young has consistently devoted herself to the growth and support of children, teachers, and parents. Her innate passion for helping individuals reach their fullest potential has driven her work as a teacher, media specialist, instructional coach, and school administrator. During her nearly decade-long tenure as a school administrator, Kimberly has served countless number of parents with children of diverse needs. She knows that assisting parents can help their children be the best version of themselves. Collaborating seamlessly with parents and educators, she has become deeply committed to developing and implementing effective plans that cater to each child's unique academic and behavioral needs. In 2023, Kimberly expanded her impact by founding the KTY Educational Services, LLC. This venture allows her to provide support to families outside the traditional setting. Through her business, Kimberly offers tailored educational guidance and support, helping children strengthen their reading and empowering parents with strategies to support their children's educational journey. Kimberly's dedication to aiding parents, educators, and children is evident in her daily actions. Her varied experience in the field of education, both within schools and through her private practice, has allowed her to make a profound and lasting impact on the lives of many children, all while inspiring positive change and growth within the educational community. Welcome to the show. I'm gonna call you Coach Kim. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Hey, sis, I'm doing well.
So, so tell me, how does it feel when you hear your bio? We've been working together a lot on language and developing the language around who you are and the things that you've done. But when you hear it back, what are you feeling? What's going through your mind?
Think about all the families, the children, the staff, the people that I've worked with. As you mentioned, a few of the positions, I can put a face with the position. I can put a face with the child that I've helped, and it's really been a very rewarding career. The business, just getting started, that's been rewarding. But I'm doing God's work, and I enjoy every minute of it. So as you read it, I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So,
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. And we need people like you, more people like you in the world who are passionate about, teaching and educating our youth. And I'm definitely going to want to talk to you a little bit about that more. But I want to do a fun little icebreaker question. So I just want to know, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate.
Chocolate, just straight up chocolate.
Just chocolate. I love chocolate. Yes.
Okay, that's classic. I don't know. I was thinking you was gonna say butter pecan or mint chocolate chip or something. I'm a cookie dough girl.
Are you? Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'll stray from chocolate, but I like chocolate. I'll put some chocolate sprinkles, chocolate syrup on it. Yeah, that's my go-to. Because back in the day, like when I was a kid, all we got was strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate, the little Neapolitan ice cream. So that's the only choices I had. So I
Hey,
fell in
they
love
go
with
with what you
chocolate
want.
as a kid.
I'm not mad at that. Are you like a chocolate cake girly too? Like you like the Bruce cakes?
I do. I do.
Okay. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I
I
do.
know. Eat Kim chocolate. Easy. We can do that. So Kim, tell me just a little bit about being an educator, because as I touched on before, that's not an easy job. And
Mhm.
I honestly think a lot of the rhetoric I hear now, it's becoming less revered as a position as well. People are like, well, I'll just go teach real quick in between me figuring out what I'm going to do, as opposed to let me go educate our youth, and really owning the position that they have. So tell me a little bit about what inspired you to even venture into the education field, and what do you think is special about your temperament that has made you sustain being in that field over 25 years?
Absolutely. So I'll tell you, I've wanted to be a teacher ever since I was a little girl. So I remember I would spend the night at my grandmother's house. She lived right across the street from us, so I would keep her.
Mm.
No, she would keep me. Goodness.
Oh, well, hey, sometimes it might be the other way. I don't know.
Right. And so I remember having my little doll babies lined up on her center block steps, and I would play school.
Mm.
And I'm sure I was teaching whatever lesson the teacher taught me during the day, right? So, but I've always enjoyed helping others and enjoyed working with children, and that help, God has sent me to, the work that I have for you going to help children. Don't get me wrong, I help others as well, but it's just always something that I've enjoyed developing ways to try to figure out how to get people to understand a topic, how
Mm.
to I listen to what they have to say, and I say, okay, there's some gaps we need to fill in. So, I figure out a way to teach different things. So it's just been it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. It truly is a passion of mine to see people excel, to see that light bulb go off. There's nothing like when you're working with a child that has been struggling with the concept, and when they finally get it, it's like, woo, let's
Yeah.
celebrate. So, and I am that corny when I do it with the kids, but
Yeah.
it fills my cup. It
Yeah.
definitely fills my cup to help others, to teach. and to just be that person that can take that child to that next level of whatever it is that they're working on. Um, you asked about where we are in the profession now. It's definitely changed. Since I started 25 years ago. It the 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 challenges of the world have changed, which of course come into the school. Um, children are definitely coming with more social emotional needs, and we need to teach them how to handle the challenges that they're dealing with. um you know the home life, I think that's always been there. There are varied experiences that kids come from. Some of them come from one parent, two parent families. Some of them are really some families are struggling to have a meal on the table. Some have, all they do is eat out when they go. So you're working with a variety of backgrounds that come to the table. But at the end of the day, it's about making sure that we do what we need to do in the school system to help children be the best versions of themselves. Um, so, no, I will say it has changed. We aren't getting the people that are passionate, not as many people that are passionate.
Mhm.
We do have people that are coming in that didn't realize that they would enjoy teaching.
Right.
Right. So yeah, they may have taken the job and because it was something that, they could get at the time, or that maybe they just wanted to try it. We do have some people that come into the profession that end up being awesome teachers and they
Mhm.
love it.
Mhm.
And so you coach them, give them the tools that they need, and they are just as good as the person that went to school years ago to learn to get the degree to teach it. And a lot of teachers that are coming in that may not have been their first choice to come into the profession, they're doing the work too. So there are people behind the scenes that are really doing the work to educate kids. Um, yes, there are a lot of vacancies out there in the classrooms, and school administrators, district administrators are they're doing their very best to fill those vacancies with people that are loving our children and giving them the knowledge that they need in order to teach children. It's a little harder than what it was
Sure.
when I started, but there are people out there that do want to be in the classrooms, um and we're there to help them and give them what they need. And what I also see is there are some people that work in the school system. They may be a teacher assistant that are very good with children, but may not have the education to be the classroom teacher. You know, school districts and principals and school administrators are working with those staff members that are already there, that are have that interest in doing a little bit more, maybe being the teacher, helping them to become that lead person in the classroom. So looking at growing from within, look tapping people who are, show that interest, and working with those folks to really give kids what they need. That's what I see more school systems doing, and those strategies are working.
Thank you for sharing that insight. And something I appreciate that you said was that you actually are caring and intentional about figuring out a way for the student to understand something. And
Mhm.
I think that is something that makes some of the best teachers and best school staff is not just a regurgitation of the information, but well, how do you learn? How do you pick up on this? And what works for you? I'm trying to teach my boyfriend Spanish, and I actually was thinking about in trying to put together a makeshift lesson, right? My disclaimer on the very first page is I am not a teacher, okay? Because I realize the skill set involved in, okay, well, what practices or what things should I do to help you get Spanish, like to help you
Mhm.
understand this concept, right? And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that skill, right? Because I think a
Mhm.
lot of us could say, oh, well, I can tell you 2 + 2 is 4. Sure, you could tell me, but could
Right.
you help me to understand
Yeah.
it, right?
Yes.
And so, in some of the work that we're doing is the coaching that you're doing with parents who have students who have a more specialized education plan and
Mhm.
program. So, talk to me a little bit about that work and how that intentionality and thinking about this specific student and their specific processes plays a part into some of the work that, that you're doing in coaching parents, etc.
Absolutely. So each child, each person is different.
Mm.
So, like you mentioned, trying to teach your boyfriend Spanish, right? So you got to figure out the best way that he learns, whether it's visual, whether it's auditory, whether it's a combination of different strategies there to help him. And it is a skill. It takes listening, it takes watching, to see what the needs are, right? And so once you find out what those needs are, then you figure out, okay, well, maybe if I try this. So instead of writing it, let's clap it, right? Maybe let's record it so you can hear it back. So it really takes sometimes observing, seeing what's in front of you, and then, all right, let me write. It's almost like writing a prescription, right?
Mhm.
Like a doctor writing a prescription. I'm not a doctor, but I imagine it would be like that, problem solving, which is something I enjoy doing. So with so everyone is different. So with children that have special needs, they are only different in the way that they receive information, the way they give information. And so, our children that do have special needs, we have testing to see, okay, this is the best way that they learn. All right. So, of course, they're not listening to you because they're a visual person. They're visual, they receive information through seeing it. So, I love that we have reports for our special needs children that give us an exact that
Mm.
tells exactly how we need to teach them.
So let's
And
talk a little
so,
bit about those
go ahead.
reports, because I think I was just going to say I want to talk a little bit about those reports because I think that's where a lot of the stigma can be, and that I
Mhm.
don't even want my kid to take that test,
Yeah,
because once
yeah.
they take that test, then there's this elusive
Hmm.
mark on their record, right? Can you
Hmm.
help me or in our audiences to really understand the value there, and what that process might look like, what they should actually expect, how maybe it should go versus shouldn't, because I'm sure there are some systems and people and things that can abuse it, right? But what is the best way to go about that?
So the best way to go about helping a child when we notice that they're having some difficulties, right?
Yeah.
So, as an educator, so when I was at the table as an assistant principal and as an educator, I would sit around the table with teachers and they would show me data for children. Right. So every 4.5 weeks, I would be at the table listening to them. And we know if when we notice that a child is not making progress and we've tried different strategies, that's when we start to say, okay, let's see if there's another way to teach them. We may try a different strategy. And if those strategies still, we track the data for 4 to 6 weeks, we've tried these different ways and they're still not getting the material, they're still not making the progress that we want to see. The data shows that they're still not getting it. That's when it's time to, take that next step, have a conversation with the parent and show the data that we've seen and then get information from the parent as well. Hey, what are you seeing at home? Because it's a collaborative process. When we're sitting around the table, it's the parent, it's the educators, the school psychologists, and any other professionals that we may need for the child, depending on what their needs are and what their struggles might be. Is having a conversation and finding out, okay, what are you seeing when you're at home, mom? What are you seeing when you're in the classroom, Miss Young? What are you seeing when you see him in the hallway, or in the hallway or out in the playground? We put all of that information together, and then we just, even try some different strategies, because one of the professionals that should be at the table is a school psychologist, and a school psychologist has a wealth of knowledge and strategies that we can try with students too. So we'll try those strategies as well for 4 to 6 weeks. And if they're still not making progress, then we talk about whether we want to move forward with testing or if we want to keep trying for another few weeks with some different strategies. When we decide if we want to move forward with testing, that's more comprehensive testing, where we're looking to see if and it's educational testing. We also make sure that their vision is good. We ask ask specific questions and go through a series of tests for about 60 days.
Mhm.
Um, and that's not testing every day. Let me make sure I make that clear. It's not testing every day for 60
Okay.
days, but the
Yeah. Me
professionals need the time to make sure that they are testing the students, seeing them in the classroom. So a school psychologist will go in the classroom and observe a child in their setting to get some data that way. So it's multiple data points.
okay.
And then we come back to the table in about 60 days from when we decide that we want to test. Um, and we talk about the data that we've seen that we have,
Mhm.
and we report out uh the data from the school psychologist, data from the classroom teacher. Sometimes we may need some medical paperwork depending on the needs of the child, and we discuss what we collected over that time period. And based on what we discuss at the table, if it looks like that child qualifies for one of the 14 disability categories, then we move forward with just going through a eligibility requirement document, just to make sure that we are if we are moving forward with special education, that it's the right disability category. So there's checks and balances all over. After, if a child is found eligible for special education services, and within that next 30 days, an individualized education plan, also known as IEP, is written for that child, and it's specific for that child. Goals are written to that the child has to work towards within the next year. Accommodations are written, which accommodations would best help a child. So do they need more wait time when asked in the classroom? Do they need to be given more visual schedules in order to help them kind of organize their day? And so, like I said, that 30 days that IEP is written, it's given to the teacher and any other educational professionals that work with that child. And then we, teach the child in the same way, help them meet the least restrictive environment. We don't take them away from their peers. We track data. How are they working towards their goals? And then we meet every year to make sure that the IEP is still working for that child, and we make any adjustments as necessary. I'm not sure if I answered your question. I went through a whole process, but that's
Yes.
how a child becomes a special education student.
Yes.
Um,
No, that was
yeah,
good because what I wanted to help people understand is the process, right? Because that's a lot of the fear. We don't know what to expect.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's, we'll get into it, but a lot of the reason why you do what you do because
Mhm.
we don't know. And but by fear of not knowing, we could
Yeah,
potentially be holding back our own child, and not
yeah.
doing something else. You said a couple things because I want to start at the beginning with the child is not getting the material, and
Hmm.
we're investigating why, but that investigation has to be on the basis that my child can actually understand the material, right?
Yes.
And I
Yep.
think that's such an important place to start from, because you also said, the only thing that makes them different is how they receive and how they give
Hmm.
information. It's
Hmm.
that they cannot. And I think that is a excellent point to a perspective to first view your child's educational journey from, is that they can get this information, right? They can
Yep.
understand the things. They can learn the whatevers. If you feel like they're struggling, they're just not going to get it. Like, no, there are, to your second point, I wanted to point out accommodations that can be.
Hmm.
And I just spoke about this on a previous episode with the other Kim in my life, Kimberly, and
Uh-huh.
about her realizing later her neurodivergence. And a lot of what has helped her manage and cope and deal is making these accommodations as an adult, making the accommodations to function better, best,
Hmm.
in her life. And it's not that she cannot. It's just, hold on, I didn't realize I need to make these accommodations. So
Right.
I'm curious, how do you make, or are you good at, or do we got to get better with in your own personal life, kind of making these accommodations for yourself to function at your best?
Absolutely. I was going to say we all make accommodations
Mhm.
for ourselves. I know for me, I need to use a calendar in order to remember the things that I need to do. So that's an organizational tool. I know for myself, I am a visual learner. Like I can go to a conference and I'm looking at the speaker and sometimes I'm able to capture things. I've learned how to receive the information, but I know that I've got to lock in and take notes,
Mhm.
right? In order for me to come back and remember the things that they said, if they're mostly doing auditory.
Right.
When I see that visual pop up, I'm like, all right, I get what he's saying over here. So we are accommodating for ourselves all of the time. And I know that some parents are, they're nervous when it comes to saying that my child is a special education student. And that and what and I know you may want to get into this later, but a big part of what I do is just helping parents to understand that process and understanding we're not saying that something's wrong. We're
Mhm.
just saying that we need a different way to teach them. And the reports tell us exactly the
Mhm.
best ways that we should teach them and reach them.
Well, yeah,
And
oh, sorry, go ahead, finish.
no, I was going to say, I'm sure you accommodate for yourself as well.
Yeah, no,
So we're all accommodating in our life.
but and I bring that up, and I guess it's so profound for me because a lot of times I wasn't. A lot of times I was not making the accommodation that I needed. I was making accommodations for others because I
Mm.
was being flexible. I was being a team player. I was going along to get along. And that's time out. It's time out for that.
Girl,
I can't, no, and I'm sure you can attest, or maybe have had
yes,
this
ma'am.
or whatever. And I'm blaming everything on turning 30. So, I just turned 30.
Happy birthday. Welcome to 30.
Thank you. And so, it's come with this awakening of it's time. I a lot of like, what's the difference? What's so new about being 30 and da da da. And I keep
Mhm,
saying now is the time to do the things that I keep saying I want to do, keep saying I'm going to do,
yeah,
keep saying I
yeah.
need to do, I should do. I am just simply going to do them, whether I want it or I need to do it for myself. Like I
Mhm.
just have to do it. And a lot of it I'm learning is making the accommodation for myself. And it's
Come
a
on, man.
simple, okay? It's a very simple concept, but it's very
Yeah,
profound and
yeah.
effective. And so I'm glad um, to hear that that is it, there's intention behind that at a younger age, in the
Mhm.
education system. So let's get into though what that relationship with parents, what that looks like. How do they find you? How does that process look like? Or is there a start point or something that should trigger somebody to say, yeah, I need to call Coach Kim?
It's different for every person. I mentioned, as an assistant principal and even as a teacher, I, work with many parents. In that assistant principal role, I got to work with a larger amount of parents because now I'm over the whole school. And what I noticed is, and I knew this, but I had to be the problem solver because I'm leader of the school. Every parent has their story.
Mm-hmm.
And those stories are connected to their children. And so I've dealt with upset parents. I had one parent come in the office fussing and all the things. And I said, let her vent. I said, come on back to my room. Let's talk. Right. So I heard what you said. You're struggling with this. And some of these things were at home. Come to find out her grandmother had passed, and her grandmother was her soul, that anchor for her. And she lost that anchor. So she came in upset with us.
Yeah.
Um, and but she was upset, but it wasn't necessarily related to us.
Sure.
Right. It was what was happening at home, or she lost that anchor. And so I really gave her a place to vent, continue. I let her cry because she shed some tears that day. And what also happened, I helped to connect her with some resources
Mm-hmm.
within the city. And so in that role, I find myself not just being the leader of the school, or helping to lead the school, but also being a listener, a counselor, and sometimes I'm not gonna claim to be a counselor because there are people that are counselors, but if I needed to, and I also was a person that helped to get resources. And so it's funny because like a week or so later, she came back and apologized for the way she came in, but she also thanked us for just giving her the opportunity to listen. So every parent has a story, and in my business, that's what I've learned as well. And working with parents. And matter of fact, that's why I started, because I just saw that, sometimes we weren't always giving the parents all the information they needed. We weren't explaining. And when I say we, I was part of that team, right? We weren't explaining to the degree that parents needed to receive information. I started to make some changes with my team at the school where I worked, and for a majority of my assistant principal career. But decided to start this business because I wanted parents to be educated about the special education process and other processes within school, be empowered to advocate for their children. And also, I wanted to be a more collaborative space with educators, teachers. So, because at the end of the day, it's about the child who's in the middle, helping them be the best versions of themselves. So that's why I decided to start, um, KTY Educational Service, to really help empower, educate, and collaborate. And if the middle, have that child me in the middle. How do people find me? So I just end up talking to people
Yeah.
and sharing what I do. And it's funny because what I find out is either they could use my services, or they know somebody. I was just talking to so and so, and she was telling me how she was having difficulties with the school, or her child isn't making progress. Somebody always knows someone. So what I end up just in conversations with people, that's why I definitely share what I do, because if I can't help that person, then they may know somebody that could use the help. And when I'm working with families, just like I did when I, was the assistant principal, I let people tell their story,
Mm.
and I listen and figure out, okay, all right, let me help them. Maybe they're not understanding this process, or maybe they just need some help verbalizing what it is that they already, know. They're just not sure what direction to go in. So I being a listener, how do people find me? I talk to people, and of course social media and other places of that nature, but it really is talking with people and just sharing. We all
Yeah.
have a story, and I hear a lot of them.
1,000%, 1,000%. And I again, I want to say thank you, for the work that you're doing, because it matters. Like you said, when you're talking to people and you're sharing, either they can use it or they know somebody. I personally have just been, awakened just to, different things to consider potentially when having these conversations around education, around what works best for students, and understanding that as the parent you don't have to have all the answers. It's
Mhm.
in fact, it's not even your responsibility, I would say, to have all the answers, but it is your responsibility to ask the questions, to seek the advisors who have the answers, right? Because I
Absolutely.
think that can feel very overwhelming and not empowering. Well, I don't know, so therefore I just don't do it. And that's in a lot of cases. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
in this case, there's an entirely innocent life affected,
Right.
but the empowerment comes back in that, well, Coach Kim got me. She's been doing this for so many years. She understands. She's gonna listen to me. I'm be able to tell her my story, tell her what I'm going through, and can point me, in the right direction. So there is definitely a demand and a need, for the services that you're providing. So, before we wrap up and before we go, I like to challenge your audience with just a conversation challenge. It's just something that, based on kind of what we're talking about, that you want to encourage the community to either discuss, think about, consider within their own community, so that we can keep this conversation going. So, what comes to mind?
Be in the village. They say it takes a village to raise a child, and I wholeheartedly believe that. Back in the day, everybody on your street knew where you were, and I know we're more disconnected this time in our lives. Even though we have all this technology, we can have our phone in our face. That interaction, that face to face, is it's not there as much as it was. So I think being a part of the village in helping your neighbor, helping your children, and that could mean, even if you don't have children of your own, what can you do to support the local school in your area? What can you do to volunteer for different organizations within your area? If children isn't it, then maybe you can help at the food bank. What can you do as a person to be a part of the village?
That's so
And I definitely think that's what's missing. And as I've started this business, I've met so many people doing so many great things. So there are people out there that are becoming a part of the village. They are a part of the village. In some case, they might be the village for a child. So I think for me, that's what I see is really community, being a part of the village, and what can you lend? What talents, gifts can you lend to help in the area that you live in and maybe work in as well.
mm.
So that's what I would say. I think that's what we need. We need more village people.
You know, that is so good. You're confirming a lot of things that I've just been talking and having conversations about, building community. But village is good too, because I like how you've been said, for somebody like myself who really doesn't have kids, that does not mean I cannot contribute to the
Mhm,
village and to the community in other ways, through volunteering and through offering my time and service. So
mhm.
I'm definitely going to practice what you preaching, and
Thank
see how I
you.
can implement that, because that is important, right? And that's how I saying this for people like myself who don't have kids and maybe feel like all my friends are either married with kids or whatever. I
Mhm,
cannot contribute, or we don't have things in common, or whatever you may have it. There are still ways that you can be involved, and you can relate to these people, and develop community and develop these relationships, etc. So that maybe down the line, when you do have your own family, they can come, and they're there to support you, but not simply because of that, but because you spent the time, you've invested, you've
right.
been a village member, as you're saying, right? And so now it's just reciprocal energy. So excellent, excellent challenge. So,
Mhm.
Kim, tell the people where they can find you, your website, your platforms, your things, all the things. How can we find you? How can we get in touch?
Absolutely. Well, I am on Instagram at KTY Educational Services. I also have a Facebook page, Kimberly Young Educational Services. You can call me 757-938-3300. I'm available to help parents and staff members, because we got a lot of educators out there working hard. They're working hard. So I want to help be that vessel to help children be the best versions of themselves. So you can find me on those platforms. I do have a parent planner coming out. Woo! To help parents just organize all the things that happen in the school year from beginning to end. It has tips. It has 52 questions you can ask your child every day to have great conversations with them. So not just the typical "how was your day?" You can ask them what made them smile today. So I have a planner that's coming out. It'll be available on Amazon and through my website as well. So I'm here. I'm out here, a part of the village, helping children and helping parents too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kim. This has been so good. I've really actually enjoyed this conversation. I know we talk a lot, but it's
Yeah.
good to, hear a different side and just different perspective on things. So thank you for your time. And for
Thank
all
you.
of you, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say thank you for having me, and thank you for this platform to talk, sis.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you guys. For everybody who is joining us live, everybody who is watching on the replay, thank y'all so much for pulling up on us. This is a small but mighty community, and we are building it brick by brick. And I'm excited for each and every single one of y'all that choose to join me, because you don't have to spend your time here, but I definitely appreciate that you do. So leave me a comment if you have not already. Please like the episode and subscribe. Subscribe to the page, okay? So you can get notifications every week when we have lives, when we have new guests, all the things. And we will be right back here next Monday, or you can catch us on live Fridays at 2 p.m. on YouTube. See you later. Bye bye.